Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. With me today is Big Jim Mack. How you doing today, Jim?
Tyson, I'm doing well, better than I deserve.
Better than you deserve. I didn't actually introduce you as my co-host. So you are my co-host, Big Jim McDannald. How you doing?
I'm good. You're my number one co-host, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we'll keep on.
That's what you said last week.
We'll keep on spreading that rumor around. Hopefully, we can have you become like the internet's number one podiatry podcast co-host. So I think it's
co-host, number one co-host.
We'll speak it into reality.
Does that make you number two then?
Yeah, I mean, you're also the number one host, I guess, with the Podiatry Legends podcast. So I guess you're battling yourself for that top spot.
Yeah, but around 250 at the moment in Podiatry Legends. So it is they add up fast. They add up really fast. Like this particular episode is number 57.
Yep.
So time flies when you're having fun.
Having a great time.
So what is our topic of discussion today?
Yeah, so today we're going to touch base about how trust grows your reputation and your practice. So I think it'll be a fun topic to jump into today.
Especially talking about trust, because as we're recording this at the moment, you cannot see me on the video. It's just a blank screen in front of you. So as far as I am sitting here like a mature adult while we're doing this recording, and my pants aren't down around my ankle and I'm dancing around.
Now I can see you, so I can confirm that you're fully clothed, so that I feel much better.
I just had to say it because we were talking about that beforehand. So, okay, we're talking about trust.
Yeah. So speaking of trust, I think one of the big takeaways, it makes sense, but not a lot of people have time to think about it. People are busy on practice. They're doing their thing. They're taking care of patients, but we really need to get back to kind of what does build trust for a practice? What builds the reputation of your practice to get those new patients to come see you? And I would say that the first thing that trust is not, or what's really important to get kind of to understand, is really that it's not what you say about your practice, it's what others say about you that's important. And whether that's on your website or around town, you definitely want to be an advocate for yourself, and that's really important. But what's golden is when other people are singing your praises. So I think that's kind of the theme of kind of what we're going to get into a bit today.
Yeah, because I always get concerned when I see a business and they'll say part of their marketing will be, we're the most trustworthy, whatever the business is. And I'm like, if you have to tell me you're trustworthy, I don't trust you.
Yeah, having some other people to back
I know,
you up.
I know it seems, they're trying to say we're trustworthy, but I feel it has a negative result when they say it. But if other people are saying it, like through reviews or just word of mouth, then it has a completely different, then it seems real.
No, I think you're completely right there. You have to have some backup. I think it's good to be confident and portray that you are the expert. And there's ways of doing that in an authentic way that don't seem extremely boastful, but it has to be balanced by building that trust and showing other people kind of lending you trust, like whether it be on your website and other places. And we'll get into some of those forms of how other people can extend trust to you. But I would say that building trust in your reputation obviously starts with providing great care. And that whether you have the best marketing, the fanciest looking clinic, or you drive the fastest, most expensive car, unless you're providing a high level of care to your patients and they understand that you are providing that care, the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter, to be honest. Because if you're not providing great care, that's going to shine through any type of shine or obfuscation of the marketing that you provide. So that's really important step number one. And I'm sure you can understand that, Tyson.
So the first thing basically is if you don't provide good podiatry care, it doesn't matter what you say or what anybody else says about you, people will come into your clinic and they'll never come back again because they won't trust you because you caused them harm instead of looking after them.
Yeah.
I remember going to a dentist once, the dentist I see now. And when I saw her, I said, look, I just want to let you know, and you probably heard this before, I don't like dentists. And I said, the reason I don't like dentists is because they hurt. It's never comfortable. You never go there going, well, hey, scale and clean, can't wait. And I do remember her putting a hand on my shoulder and saying, I promise I won't hurt you. And then in brackets, she said, as much as what the others have previously. But she always lived up to that. She always knew that I was just a bit nervous and anxious, and really took her time, probably spent a little bit more time with me. And over a period of time, now I go in there and I jokingly around say, yeah, I'm fine. And she probably gets me through in and out a lot faster than what she used to. And when people ask me who's my dentist, I can easily say who it is, and I do trust her.
No, that's a really great point, because I think it is not only the quality of care or the type of care you provide, but what is your attitude and how compassionate are you to the patient's needs? Like you said, whether it be good or bad, sometimes you have these people that are not necessarily great physicians, but they show a level of care and compassion for someone. Obviously, it'd be great if everyone provided the best care ever and it was also compassionate. But someone might provide amazing care, but they see that patient as a diagnosis. They walk in and out of the clinic or out of the clinic treatment room in 2 minutes. They don't answer questions, or they don't make the patient feel like they were heard. So when I say providing excellent care, it isn't just like being clinically sound. It's also providing that patient with that experience where they feel like you're worthy of that trust, and you listen to them, and then you kind of help propel them in the direction of getting better. That is really important.
Well, it's no different if someone was treating an ingrown toenail and you were just doing like routine care and they had a bit of an ingrown toenail. Almost impossible to treat that ingrown toenail without inflicting some form of discomfort, if it's pierced the skin or in some way. But reassuring the patient that I'm going to do my best to limit the amount of discomfort that you're going to have, and you take your time and you're not rushing the patient, because patients can see when you're rushing. They can tell if they've been to you 3 or 4 times before, and they can tell what your mannerisms like. And then the next time you're running behind, so I'm going to speed up the patient. They can pick that you're rushing. And therefore, I think your trust level drops a little bit if you don't provide that same amount of care every time they come in.
Yeah, I think consistency is really important, not only with the care you provide, but also your mannerisms and how you treat somebody, whether you're running behind or you're running ahead or you're right on time. Like you said, patients will pick up on that. So you just really need to, it is that communication and the way that you treat people with compassion that just consistently is what really matters there. And for that first point. Second point being, I think you really need to develop mutual respect and relationships with other healthcare providers, right? Whether this is serving committees at your local hospital, maybe it's helping a physio down the road with certain things. Building these bonds and this network of healthcare professionals is also a way of growing your reputation in your local community, but also building trust. So whether that's someone sends you a referral, providing a referral letter back to them saying, hey, thank you for sending this patient. They were diagnosed with this thing, or we're treating them in this way. It just shows that you're kind of going the extra mile, not only just to do it because you feel like you have to, but to kind of developing a bond and kind of a network of trusting healthcare providers over time. It's just good for your own reputation. Then you become that local expert of the foot and ankle or whatever kind of niche within podiatry with these other healthcare providers. And maybe they'll send you people in the future, but also they'll talk well about you and the care you provide to some of their colleagues. Maybe it's an internal medicine doctor you become friends with who has a group of 10 other doctors in their office. And they ask, I know you send people to this physician. Why do you send them there, to that podiatrist? What is he like? It's just a way of providing value to your community, other healthcare providers. It's just a really win situation there when you network with other healthcare providers and provide value to them.
Yeah, and it's something you build up over time. You're not going to have this fantastic relationship within a week or within a month. So it's something you got to build up over 6 months, a year. Sometimes it takes years to develop that relationship. But I think from a patient's point of view, there's nothing better than if there's another healthcare professional in your area who is very well respected, and you see them in the newspaper, the media, and they're respected, and then you'll see your patients will see you with them talking. It could be at a sporting event, it could be something else. And they straight away, if you're aligned with somebody else who already has a lot of respect and is quite trustworthy, it just rubs off on you. But you've got to build your rapport with them. They've got to trust you first before they let you into their circle.
No, that's very right. You have to they're not going to be willing to if you have a lunch and learn with them that one time and you expect a flood of referrals, you got to, people know what feels transactional, what feels real. So it's finding those ways to develop those real networking relationships with people to help them understand that you're not just in it for the transaction. You're in it to help the patient. You're there to help them treat their patients better, and you are that local expert. So I think that's really important. The next point I think is really important is it's on a similar line, and I think we talked about this maybe in a previous podcast, but it's that kind of non-medical professionals or people that other places where your ideal patients go to seek advice or counsel or some expertise. The most common example of this to me is let's say you like to treat runners. So having good relationships with not only the medical professionals like physios and other people that treat runners, but also that local shoe store or the race director at the local marathon. Maybe it's some other people that treat runners, or maybe it's a massage therapist. So it's not necessarily like another doctor, but someone kind of in that scope that might be giving advice to runners if they have a painful heel or an ingrown toenail. Just providing value to those folks, whether it's a night where you discuss marathon injuries for free at the local running shoe store, or maybe it's doing something in concert with the race director or the local marathon, a night of a learning opportunity for them to run about running injuries or something. So there's a lot of ways to build out your network outside of the healthcare professionals that can add real value to kind of build that reputation and trust that you have in the people have in your practice.
Yeah, it does have an accumulative effect over a period of time with your professional and also your non-professional referrers or the people you connect with. When I think back to my clinic, I think at the time, the people that are on the local council, our local members of parliament, our federal members of parliament, the mayor of the town, they were all patients of our clinic, but they didn't all come in that first week or that first month. It was connecting with people, whether professional referrers or people who, the local masseuse, connecting with all these people over a period of time, because they then talk to other people. And then word of mouth gets around comes back to what you said about providing good care right at the start.
No, exactly. And I think you touched on the point that's really important is that there's different forms of word of mouth now in the digital age, but that word of mouth from whether it's your local representative in government or the masseuse, the running shoe store owner, these people are kind of multipliers, right? Like a running shoe store person someone that owns a running shoe store probably sees there's 50 or 60 people coming into their store just to buy shoes every day, but maybe there's 3 or 4 people each day that have some kind of foot problem they're trying to fix or something they want to get over and they need to be seen by somebody. So these are really important kind of word of mouth opportunities to kind of get who you are out there. There's also these kind of digital word of mouth opportunities. And that's like you touched on previously and we've talked about in some previous podcasts. These are patient reviews. These are patient testimonials where, like we talked about, you definitely want to be confident, not be shy about the care you provide, but when you back up some of these claims that you make with patients saying similar things, or even sometimes patients will say things in a more relatable way than even you could have imagined, right? Since they are the patient, they know how you made them feel and they can express it.
Yeah.
We're trying to imagine how we make other people feel. Sometimes, as much as we want to get in the patient's shoes, sometimes it's a little tough, but sometimes when you review those Google reviews or those WebMD reviews or those health grade reviews, you can really understand the impact you're having on people. And then it can change the way maybe you display those things on your website. You display those things with permission in some of your advertising online. It's just a way of really connecting with people in the ways that they want to be spoken to and kind of sharing their experiences about you just really speaks volumes. I think that's something that I don't always see enough like on clinic websites, to be honest. I think I see a lot of written copy and physician biographies and those things can be beneficial. I'm not saying those are bad, but I think it really having those things on a website just really speaks to people that want to be treated by someone that cares, that's a high level professional, that other people have seen in the local community, that have treated things that they have. And there's no better way to express that sometimes than with reviews or patient testimonials.
Yeah. So I know in Australia, we can't do that. We're not allowed to throw them on our website, testimonials. So, but in America, for example, when someone puts a testimonial up, are they allowed to use their full name or do they have to put Jim M? And they put actually Jim McDannald?
I think sometimes
are they allowed
it's going to be sometimes varied by state. There's definitely, I think, some states that don't necessarily allow it. But I think if you do have a written release from a patient that says they're okay with you using their full name, I think sometimes to protect, even to some physicians or some people will feel differently. And like you said, sometimes it makes more sense to use Jim M or something that's a little bit more anonymizing than a full name. But there are definitely different, it kind of varies by state and kind of the comfort level of the clinic and of the patient, I think is important to take into account.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on the profession, doesn't it? If you're a defense attorney, you don't want to, geez, He's got me off for the third time I didn't go to prison. Jim McDannald.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Jim M.
That's the beneficial thing about, and most of the patients we treat aren't wanted by law enforcement or spending time behind bars. But I mean, there's sometimes
most of
we
them.
have some patients like that. But last but not,
well, what you were saying though about, before you get into the
Sure.
last point, but what you're saying about whether it's a patient review, and you can picture one patient talks to another patient, and the patient says something positive. They said, "Oh, Jim, was my podiatrist. He was great." Oh, okay. The next thing, they go down to the shoe shop and they look at shoes, and they said, "Oh, maybe you should see a podiatrist. There's a guy, Jim, that you should see." Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about him. Then they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "I'm going to refer you to a podiatrist." Or maybe, have you thought about seeing a podiatrist? I've heard about this guy called Jim. And the doctor all of a sudden will go, "Actually, I've heard they're good." And to me, that's why it's not just one layer of trust. It's these multiple layers of trust from different areas. And when you hear it from more than one place, it must be true.
I think that's a really excellent point. It's kind of like that multi-touch point, right? I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past about online visibility, or just even visibility of not only yourself, but also the quality of care or the type of care you provide. Because we always, being in our practice all the time, when we're doing the ingrown toenails or doing the sports medicine or doing the diabetic foot care, we know what we do. So it doesn't feel like we really, and not that we're totally self-conscious about it, but if we keep saying we're the diabetic foot care specialist, the more we say that, when we say it out loud to ourselves, we're hearing it every single time. But like you said, maybe that local healthcare provider didn't know you did that, or the local patient or the medical supply place didn't know that they have a podiatrist who is skilled with this type of care. And when we say it out loud to all these people 3 times, it was 3 times for us, but for each of those person, it was only once. So multiple touches, more visibility, hearing it from different sources, like you talked about, whether it popped up on Google Ads, they saw your website, they talked to their primary care doctor, they talked to their friend who has a running shoe store. Like you said, those things are exponential ways of building that trust and reputation, as opposed to just some random person. Just, there's 2 reviews on Google, right? And that's the only place they saw. It was just one of 2 reviews, one of which is like a 1-star review. You have to be trying to be everywhere is impossible, but being in those places where people are taking advice,
the places that count,
right? Or people they respect and already trust, and that help lend that trust to you in your practice is huge.
Yeah, but healthcare is one thing, but it's no different to what you're buying. Like I recently bought a DJI microphone, Bluetooth microphone, works like from 200 feet away. And I've been looking at this thing for a long period of time. And I was thinking, I should have get this one, I should have get that one. I'm not sure what to get. But then all of a sudden, other people and other platforms that I trust, the information that comes from there, all of a sudden we're talking about this particular one that I was looking at getting. Once I saw it 3, 4, 5 different people from complete different areas, so there was no influence from the other one, all saying the same thing, I went, I'm now convinced that is the microphone that I want to buy. When we bought this one, the one that we use here on the podcast, I've been looking at this microphone for a while. Other people have told me it was great. And then you went and bought one. I had microphone envy. And then I had to go and get one as well. So if people ever see the video, they'll see we've got the same microphones.
Yeah,
so it is. Healthcare is going to work. I think when it comes to your health, it's even more important that these different layers sort of overlap each other.
Yeah, I think they overlap, and there has to be some continuity there, right? Like you want to have it be as seamless as possible. I think we talked a little bit as well, right? If someone's saying you're the most amazing person ever, you're the best podiatrist in town, and they go to your website and it looks like it was built in 1999 with just basic HTML and like flashing GIFs on it, and doesn't really, there's a bit of a disconnect between this. They said this person was amazing, but their online presence looks like it's from 1999. Yeah, there's a disconnect there. And the more ways you can keep those different inputs kind of like on a similar level and positive, the better off you're going to be having that patient not only come in and see you, but then also have a great experience, and then hopefully spread that word to other people in your local area.
So you said that you had one last point.
Yeah. So the last point is, and it's similar to the kind of previous one, is that not only is it important to have those patient testimonials or what patients are saying about you, but there is some benefit of displaying your expertise in some different ways. I'd say number one is if you're part of some different podiatry associations or professional organizations, having those be front and center on your website, especially your homepage, is super important. People trust organizations. Obviously, if you're board certified or have certain skills that set you apart from other podiatrists locally, those are things you want to put on display and kind of have those symbols of trust speak for you. A symbol like that's going to be much more than 3 paragraphs about your surgical training or how you make the best orthotics. They're not going to want to read that. But if they see a symbol that looks official, that says they can kind of infer that you have those skills, it's going to be a very powerful thing. And something we've touched on a lot in the past as well, along with these logos and these symbols, is that just have authentic photos of you doing exactly the type of care you want to provide. I keep hammering on this, and maybe definitely email into the podcast if you're tired of me mentioning this, like maybe every 4 to 5 weeks. But we
always joke about this guy we call Same Guy, where you go to, I think, the Podiatry Management website. If you go to their webpage, which looks like it was done in 1988, and it looks like it was done probably 20 years ago. It looks really out of date, and Same Guy is actually on there. He's just a guy that looks like a doctor with the white coat and the stethoscope, and he just looks. If you go to that website and have a look, you'll know what I mean by Same Guy.
I'll take a look at it. But like you talked about, people are very savvy these days, right? The internet's been around long enough. They know what's authentic and what's genuine. And you really build trust in people's expectations. You help generate expectations, build trust that you're going to be the best person to do a certain thing or provide a certain treatment or provide treatment to a certain type of patient by showing it, not by talking about it, by showing it. And I think with those symbols, with authentic photos, you just really speak to people on a visual level, more like a visual storytelling than a written or oral storytelling. And I think it can be a huge boon for building that trust and building the reputation in your practice and all that great care that you provide.
Well, I think they were fantastic points. And if anyone is listening to this, I would go back and just listen again, especially if you're driving in the car and you weren't able to take notes. Just go through what we've spoken about and list them down and just go, am I touching all these bases? Am I looking at this? And it's something you should probably sit down with your team and go over and go, what's our trust level with all these different areas, and what can we do to improve upon this or have even more connections in the different areas?
No, I think that's a great point. And like you talked about, sometimes just asking your patients certain things, right? Your patients are the kind of best bellwether, and whether it should be showing up in reviews or what people tell you in clinic, sometimes people are happy to provide a little bit of feedback. And I think it's also who's appointing in your practice, right? Do you have images of you treating runners and you're still not getting runners? There's ways to kind of diagnose and adjust your strategies, right? So there's no one simple way that's going to work for everybody, but if you're consistent about putting the right messaging out there, providing great care, networking with people, both healthcare professionals and non-healthcare folks in your local area, you're going to generate that digital and kind of regular word of mouth to help build that trust and reputation. So Tyson and I are here. We're always open to your questions, your feedback. There's ways that we can provide you some help along the way. We're happy to do so. But I really enjoyed this conversation we had today, Tyson, on this topic. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
No, it was fun. And I look forward to talking again next week, Jim.
Plan.
Okay.
Bye, Tyson.